All right, what I'm going to show you today, welcome to my studio by the way, is a no-frills way of making paper. So for that purpose, I have a non-porous surface to make my paper on, which is in this case a butcher's tray. You can use anything that's non-porous, a countertop, a tabletop, a piece of plexiglass, or a board that's finished. I've got some Vaseline, so I coated this with a very thin coat of Vaseline to get the paper to release off it once it's dry. And I also have a bucket with about a half a gallon of water. Now in one bucket, I have two buckets actually. One bucket I put toilet paper in there in the water, and as soon as the toilet paper hits the water, it breaks down into paper pulp because that's designed to do so it doesn't clog your toilet. So you don't need a mixer, you don't need a blender for that. All you gotta do is put it in the water, swish your hand around, and you got paper pulp in the water. The other material that I've used or have here that I'm going to try is dryer lint. It's the same thing. When the dryer lint hits the water, it disperses into little fibers. Now I also added a couple ounces of Elmer's glue to the water, so when this dries, the Elmer's glue will hold all the fiber together and will give your paper some cohesiveness so it doesn't fall apart. The other thing you can do to add to your water, you could add some dried flower petals, for example. You cut this up and put it in there. You could add color to your pulp by putting some watercolor in it or food coloring. You could put glitter in there. You could put little bits of tissue paper to give it some color. So where this idea came from originally is I wanted to make some paper pieces for a wall hanging that I was doing at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. I wanted to make some wall pieces. Also for glass curtain gallery here in Chicago at Columbia College. So to do that, I actually thought about when I make molds to make clay pieces. Like I like to make clay boxes out of molds. I actually make tile molds for tiles, full press molds. Here's an example. And I like to make boxes using clay. But I thought that idea could be transferred to making paper, to making these pieces, these paper pieces. So I made this large mold with the shape of a heart. I then put some collage material in the mold and then laid my paper pulp on top of that. And there you go, I got this nice lightweight paper-like tile that I could then hang on a wall without too much, about very little weight. It weighs probably less than half a pound. So I'm using that process I use for making clay boxes to make these paper pieces. What I'm going to show you then is what I've discovered in just making some simple sheets of paper. So again, I have toilet paper pulp, half a gallon of water, put a couple ounces of Elmer's glue in there, and I also then am using, to create my little swatches of paper, I'm using these little Scotch-Brite Dobie pads. These are made of Teflon so the paper fibers don't stick to it, and also it's porous so I can easily get the water out of it or squeeze the water out of it. So here's my bucket. I'm going to put it up here and I'm going to swish my little Dobie pad in the water till I get a nice coat, a nice level or layer of paper fiber, toilet paper fiber forming above the pad, like that. On top of the surface of the pad is full of paper fiber now. I'm then going to press that against the side of the bucket, squeeze all the excess water out of it, and then I'm going to pull that gently out of the bucket, and I've got paper pulp there. I'm then going to lay that on my butcher's tray and peel the paper off of that. And now I have a nice little swatch of paper pulp on the butcher's tray. I'm going to do that a few more times. So I'll swish my Dobie pad in the water so the fiber, little layer of fiber in the water forms above it. Pull it out, paper fiber on there. I can let the water drain, or I can just squeeze it out by putting it against the side of the pail, pushing it in there, squeeze the water out of it, and then gently pull it up. And again, a nice little layer of paper pulp forms on the surface of the pad. And I'll just do this over and over again. And I could do this as many times as I need to make as big a piece of paper as I want to. So let me do that a few more times. Very simple process. Swish your Dobie pad in there, pull it up, nice layer of toilet paper pulp forms on the surface of it. I'll push it against the surface of the bucket, squeeze all the excess water out as much as I can get out, pull it up the side of the bucket, and then lay that on my butcher's tray, okay, which again is a very thin coat of Vaseline. And I'll just keep doing that. How much toilet paper is in here? Probably not more than a quarter roll. And so I didn't put a lot in here. Again, nice layer of paper pulp on the Adobe pad. I'll lay it on the pad here, and it'll come right off. And there we go. So I'm actually making a small thing of paper here. Now, of course, I'm going to have to let this dry. The other thing I like to do then is I'll take another sponge that's damp but not just wet, and I'll squeeze more water out of that, press it down so it's nice and flat. Even it off, so I'm getting a nice rectangular piece here, in this case, of paper made from toilet paper. All right, you do one more of those. I keep doing this. The more I do it, the bigger it gets. Layer of paper pulp on my Adobe sponge here, my Adobe scrubber. Push the water out of it, and then pull it out of the bucket, and pull that out, and lay it here. There we go. So I just have to keep doing that, and I can expand on it, make this as big as I want. You know, fill the whole butcher tray with it. I'll just show you the small swatch that I've made so far. Let me squeeze the excess water out of my sponge. Get the excess water out of the paper. And when this dries, it'll just peel right off my butcher's tray. All right, so far so good. There it is so far. The other side, this side will be a little uneven, but the bottom side of it will be nice and flat so you can draw or paint on it. The other thing that I have here is dryer lint. Let's try that. So I'll take up my dryer lint, and your dryer lint will take on the color whatever your clothes are. So mine looks kind of blue, grayish blue, because a lot of my clothes are either blue or black or gray. I don't have a lot of color. I'll pull my sponge out of my bucket with a nice coat of dryer lint. This is a little different than the toilet paper pulp. I'll then squeeze it against the side of the bucket, squeeze the water out of it, and then pull it up and add that to my butcher's tray here. And that'll come right off. There we go. And I'll do that a few more times. Nice layer of paper of dryer lint. Push it against the side of the bucket. Bring it up and lay it in my butcher's tray. Now your dryer lint's going to have a lot of different things in it, different kinds of fibers, some cotton, some synthetic. Of course, I see some of my wife's hair in here. But that makes it interesting, and of course, that will add more, this hair will actually add more strength to it. All right? And I just have to form this and shape it a little bit, push it into the dryer, and keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. All right, so there's dryer lint on the left, and toilet paper pulp on the right, and I'll just keep making this larger and larger. There we go. Make a nice sheet of paper. We can call it paper, I guess. All right, so that's the process. In our next video, I'll show you what that looks like, a dried piece, a finished piece, and then what we can do with it.